Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm creating this fun little platform pop-up with some succulents planted inside it. So this is for the Lawn Phonetics challenge, which is just dies this time. So this is a bit of a challenge for me because I normally like to stamp my images. These are the products I'm using. So I've got the platform pop-up die, the Plant-a-Succulent die, and then I was going to use this little hello, which comes from the Magic Colour Changer die, but I ended up using a thanks die instead, which comes from the Small Stitched Envelope die set. So I've already cut out my platform pop-up. This is from the Perfectly Plaid Remix paper pack. Now, these were actually given to me in a Lawn Fawn order, and they come from the 12 by 12 set. So they are larger than the 6 by 6 one I showed you there, but I just wanted to show you which pack it came from. So these were free in an order I made. So Lawn Fawn tend to give a few bits of their paper with their orders. So that was really nice, and I thought I could use this today for my platform pop-up. So I've cut all the pieces out. I have already stuck the double-sided tape down where I need it. And what I'm going to start by doing is attaching these little dirt pieces to my T parts, which is proving difficult because the double-sided tape doesn't want to let go of its release paper. So I like to attach these down first. Now you can do them after your platform pop-up is assembled, but I find it easier to do it while it's flat. And in hindsight, I did actually add a piece to the back side of these as well, which I did when it was assembled. And in hindsight, I wish I'd done that while it was flat, but that's fine. It did work okay. I just find it easier to line everything up. So then I'm just going to show you one half of the platform pop-up. It's very, very easy to assemble. You just take the T section, pop it through the little slot, then take the release paper off the kind of tab part to that, and then fold the other piece up and attach that down. It's very easy, and if you I'm not very good at explaining it, but if you haven't seen it, then I suggest watching the Lawn Fawn tutorial for that. Now I've cut a circle from some acetate, and I'm going to attach that in the middle of my platform pop-up. So instead of using a third T section, I'm going to use this acetate instead. And I was debating where to put it. In hindsight, I would have put it higher. I should have put it higher. But I was worried. I don't know why I was worried. I was worried that it wouldn't kind of fit in. In the end, it fit in perfectly, and it was fine, and it could have done with being a lot higher. But hey ho, all it meant was that my sentiment didn't pop up as much as I would have wanted it to. But it's okay. You live and learn. And today, creating this card for me was all about having a play around with these Plant-a-Succulent dies, which I haven't used yet, and I really wanted to try out. So that was the idea behind it, just to have a play around with those and see how I like them. I didn't cut the plant pots for those. I literally just cut the leaf sections because I want it to look like they're kind of planted in some dirt, and that this little platform pop-up is the actual kind of planter, if you like. So just finishing off assembling my little platform pop-up, and there we go, it's all finished. So easy to make now that I've mastered it, and you will be pleased to hear that I have a new die cutting machine, because my old one just wasn't cutting and definitely wasn't embossing the score lines very well. So I did invest in a new die cutting machine, and it's amazing. It works brilliantly. I used to have a Sizzix Big Shot, which I loved. I've had it for many, many years, but I upgraded to a Sizzix Big Shot fold away, and wow, the difference is amazing. I can tell that the pressure is so much greater on my new machine, so I'm really happy with it, and it makes die cutting things like this so much easier. So once all of my box is assembled, I'm adding a little bow to the front. So I've cut all the pieces out of some guava cardstock from Lawn Fawn, and I'm just using my tape runner to assemble all those little pieces. And I'm going to attach it to the front of my box. So it's very easy. There's a tail piece which you put behind, and then the bow piece on top, and then there's like a little kind of part that goes in the middle of the bow, which you attach to the middle, funnily enough, and then you add the two kind of ribbon pieces on either side, and there's a little gap in the middle, which is where the bow goes. So it's it's so clever. I mean, Lawn Fawn are brilliant at creating these interactive dies, and they have just such good ideas, and it always works really, really well. So that's it. The platform pop-up is complete. So off camera, I cut out some of my little succulents. So I cut out loads of flowers. I didn't end up using anywhere near all of these, but I cut these from guava cardstock, and I'm using some bubblegum ink, some guava ink actually, to ink blend just a little bit on the very kind of bases of them, just to give a slight contrast. And I'm using the same coloured ink because I don't want it to be drastic, so the ink just comes up slightly darker than the cardstock, if that makes sense. So just using a very, very tiny, I say ink blending brush. These are actually cosmetic brushes that I got. They're quite cheap, but they do the job, so that's all that matters. So that's the little flowers. Then for my leaves, I cut these kind of longer shaped leaves from some sage leaf cardstock or sage cardstock, and I'm using Minty Fresh ink on these. I absolutely love this colour of cardstock. It's so pretty, and it works so nicely with the guava. Really kind of, the guava really pops on it, so I really like this sage cardstock. So again, just blending on at the base, just adding a little bit of colour to create a little bit of contrast. Then onto my leaves, which I cut from cilantro cardstock, and I'm using some jalapeño ink for this, which is a nice bright green, and the cardstock's nice and bright and green as well. So again, just adding some little bit of contrast to the base of these. Nothing fancy or, clever. It's all pretty basic today. So once that was done, it was onto sort of my little cactus, and this was cut from rainforest cardstock. And then I'm using some Noble Fir ink. Now, my Noble Fir ink was rather juicy, and it ended up coming out rather dark, especially on the first little piece that I did. But that's okay, I'm good with it. I just probably needed to tap my brush off a little bit before I went straight onto the cardstock. But again, you live and learn, so it's all good. And just finishing off, blending out, just trying to make it kind of graduated so it doesn't look quite so stark. Now I've taken my tape runner, and I'm just trying to kind of create my little plants, if you like. So this is the first time I've used this die set, and this is a little bit of a different card for me. I don't normally go quite so I don't know what the word is quite so sophisticated, perhaps. I like to have kind of cute images, and I normally like to put smiley faces on things. But today I really just wanted to have a play around with these because I've had them for a little while and I haven't used them yet. So I just thought it was a great opportunity to have a little play and see what I could come up with. And actually they were very easy to kind of put together. They would have been a lot easier had I used the pots, particularly for these kind of last leafy bits that I've got here, because they were quite difficult to kind of attach together as one plant without the pot, if that makes sense. But it worked fine. I did get into a little bit of a sticky mess with my tape and I ended up having to pull out some liquid glue, but it worked fine in the end. It was okay. So I'm just attaching some of the little flowers to my little cacti, and I should say I haven't attached any of these actually into the platform pop-up yet. I'm just kind of popping them in to see how they're going to look. And the great thing about using those two pieces of dirt, two pieces of craft cardstock on either side of my little T sections, is that I can slip these little plants in between, so it actually looks like they're growing up out of the dirt, which I thought was kind of cool, because the tape is literally only along the very bottom of those sections. It kind of creates a little slot in the middle where you can pop things inside. So I thought that worked really, really well. So here we go. This is where I'm getting into a little bit of a sticky mess with my tape runner. And sorry, I'm a little bit off screen. I've just realised and I'm moving up again. But just trying to attach it down so that it kind of looks like one plant rather than just a bunch of leaves. And obviously the base is going to be hidden in those little dirt sections, so you're not going to kind of see the bottoms quite so much. But yeah, I was getting in a right sticky mess. But I kind of got it to where I thought I was fairly happy with it. But I did end up pulling it apart again because it just wasn't going to work with the tape runner. And I ended up using liquid glue instead, which held it together much better. But I did fiddle around with this for quite some time before I got it right. So it's about at this point that I realised that liquid glue is going to be my best friend here. So I pull out my Lawn Fawn glue tube and I just kind of pop everything together. But obviously everything's still a little bit sticky from the tape runner on the back. But in the end, I managed to kind of get most of it off using my adhesive eraser, which worked quite nicely. So it wasn't too sticky and messy in the back, which was good. Otherwise it would have been sticking to everything. But yeah, I did find this a little bit fiddly, and as I say, had I used the pots that come with this die set, it would have been a lot easier to pop these pieces in. But it's okay, I think it worked fine in the end, and I did get there eventually. So off camera, I went ahead and I kind of cut the bases off all of these with my scissors, and there's my little thanks, which I'm going to pop onto the acetate in the middle. Now, I did use tape runner for this. I don't know, I always struggle with gluing things to acetate, and I thought the tape runner would be less messy. It still does get in a little bit of a mess. I don't know, leave me a comment below and tell me what you use for adhering things to acetate. I always get in a bit of a sticky mess with this stuff. But yeah, I think it's okay. I don't think it's too noticeable in the end. I'm just trying to clean up kind of all the inside pieces so that it's not quite so obvious, and I'm just adhering that down to the very top of my acetate. And I'm sorry this is a little off screen. As I say, I wish I had kind of popped my acetate up higher into my card base so that it was a little bit more prominent, because that's the only sentiment I've got on my card today. So I wish I had kind of had it up a little bit higher so that it was more easily seen above the plants, but it's okay. Again, you know, I kind of just wanted to have a bit of a play around with these dies today, so you know, it was fine. So I'm just using some liquid glue to attach these to the little slots. So as I say, I'm just kind of poking them in between the two little sections of dirt that I've cut. And in the end, I do add a couple more flowers to this one, just because I felt like everything was on the right-hand side there and I wanted to kind of make it a bit more balanced. So I added a couple more to that one. I'm popping this one in beside that sage-coloured plant and try not to get glue everywhere. Luckily it dries clear, so it's okay. So I've attached those two into the back, and then I'm going to get my little cacti, which I'm going to pop into the front, kind of in the middle, which is why I've cut quite a bit off the bottom of this guy, because I didn't want them too high. I wanted to be able to see my sentiment behind. As I say, I wish I'd put my sentiment a little bit higher, but it's okay. It works, I think. It would have been better higher, but it's okay. So I just kind of fiddled around with it a little bit more, and there it is. It's done. It was very easy and quick to make. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do let me know what you think about it in the comments. Do give me a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you come back again. Thanks so much. Bye.